Hey guys and girls, welcome to the brand new episode of Vedic Astrology on my channel. And in today's episode, we'll be dealing with the sixth house in Vedic astrology. So in this topic, we'll study that what exactly is the sixth house in Vedic astrology, what is the significance of the sixth house in a person's horoscope or the birth chart, which all events in our life, which all people, which all professions, which all areas of our life can be deciphered out by looking at the sixth house in our horoscope. So without wasting any time, let's get started, guys. And as you can see, there is a chart lying up there, and this particular marked region, if you can see it clearly, it represents the sixth house in Vedic astrology. As I told you that the counting of the houses always begins from this place, which is the first house, and likewise we move into the anti-clockwise direction. So we count 6 places from this first house. This is the first house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, sixth house. So this is the sixth house in our horoscope, which we are going to study today. And as I told you that when we are studying the houses, we got to make use of that Vedic theory that comes in very handy. In fact, it is essential to study the houses in detail, and according to that Vedic theory, that whenever we take a house into consideration and we count 12 places from that house, then the house, after counting 12 places, then the house that we reach to represents the qualities or the attributes that are totally in non-compliance or that are totally contrary to the house from which we begin the counting. Or else you can put it as like that the house that we reach to represents the qualities or the attributes that are totally in non-compliance with the house that was taken into consideration. So for deciphering out what exactly does the sixth house in our horoscope stands for, we'll start the counting from the seventh house. Correct now? Okay, so we'll count. This is the house that we are taking into consideration, seventh house, and we'll count 12 places from that seventh house. Let's see where do we reach. First, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hey, we reached the sixth house, which we are going to study today. That is, if we apply to that same Vedic theory principle here, then we can see that the sixth house is totally contrary or is totally in non-compliance with the things that are represented by the seventh house. Sixth house not equal to the seventh house not equal to the sixth house. You say it either way, it doesn't make any difference. So guys, what is the seventh house in Vedic astrology all about? Seventh house. First of all, in order to study the sixth house, I'll give you a brief description of the seventh house. Well, seventh house in Vedic astrology is a house of partnerships. It's the house of friendships. It's the house of any kind of alliances, be an alliance of marriage, be it an alliance of friendship, be it any alliance, be it a business alliance. So seventh house people are the ones who are very balanced in their outlook towards life. They are very positive in their outlook towards life. These are the peacemakers or the deal makers. These seventh house people do not love arguments, or they are not the ones who would love any kind of argumentative discussions or something like that. Instead, seventh house is the house of partnerships. So these people do not love argumentative discussions. Rather, these are the people who are ready to compromise a part of their desires in order to get along with others. And that's why seventh house represents the house is called the house of business. And when does business flourish? Business flourish when both the parties who are into that business, either it's one is the customer and the one is the seller. Both of us are making a deal that I'll give you that product and he'll pay me. So we are compromising somewhere down the line. So this is what is the seventh house people actually represent. So seventh house people are not the ones who would fight over the trivial issues or would make a mountain out of a mole. In fact, even if they bump into the wrong people, they would not react and they would just pass a normal smile. Maybe it is obviously a wry smile, but they will just pass that dry smile and just move over. They'll just keep walking in the pursuit of in the pursuit of signing a deal with somebody who they feel is more compatible, who they feel would complement them better than this person than that they earlier encountered. And quite likely, quite unlikely to the seventh house, the sixth house is the house of argumentative discussions. It's the house of battles. It's the house of challenges in life. So, if I were to sum up challenges this term, then I can possibly, or if I were to think of challenges or hurdles or obstacles or any situation that brings a sort of imbalance in our life, then I could categorize such situations into 4 or 5 parts. Like I could bifurcate them into it could be the competition that we face, it could be the diseases that we suffer from. The challenge could be in the form of the court cases or the litigations that we get into. It could be in the form of the relationships or the marital problems that we face. It could be the problems that are brought into our life when we are encountering the enemies. Now, because of all these 4 or 5 things that sound very gruesome and horrifying in nature, most of the astrologers have labeled it, or rather I shall say they have designated the sixth house as an Dushtana house. Dushtana in English means evil house. So most of the astrologers or the people firmly believe that sixth house is a house of obstacles, hurdles. It's the house of it's an evil house. It's a Dushtana house. It's a bad house. Well, I don't believe in any of those terminologies, because any of those terminologies doesn't make sense to me, at least. What I firmly believe is that sixth house is just the house of the real world and nothing other than the real world. And what happens in the real world, when we are operating in the real world, we come across enemies. When we are operating in the real world, we face the relationships or the marital problems. When we are operating in the real world, we suffer from diseases, we face competition, and we get into the occasional court cases and litigations. So this house is totally a house that represents the real world and just the real world. And in this episode, I'll be basically trying to give you a new perspective, a new way of thinking about the sixth house, unlike to what you might have read in the text up till now, or might have heard from any of the astrologers or any of the persons who have got some knowledge of astrology or the other. So, taking up the first point, if you can see it here, it's written competition. Well, competition is a very healthy thing to have in life. Now, at the moment when we face competition, that is when we lose out on a challenge, or when we lose out in the competition, it is kind of a very difficult situation, something that brings a sort of imbalance in our life. It creates some sort of agitation in our life. We are bogged down at that moment. But what it just rather comes as a blessing in disguise, because it is the point that when we fail, we start reassessing that what we have been doing over the past, what all efforts were missing in our endeavors. That is because of the fact that we could not overcome those challenges. So it is when we face those challenges, we are actually brooding and contemplating over what all we are doing, try to reassess, try to reanalyze what all had we been doing and how we can overcome those things. And although we are dragged into a pot of shit when we are bogged down by the competition, but ultimately you emerge as a much more mature person. You emerge as a careful taskmaster at the end of that competition or the challenge that you face. Now, the sixth house competition could be in the form of the competition that you face when you write an entrance exam. So when you're writing that entrance exam, you are competing with those thousands and hundreds of individuals who are writing that same entrance exam. But down within, you know that only the top 10 high scorers will get admission into the particular college for which had organized this entrance test, or only the top 10 people will be given certain posts in the politics or in any arena. Only the top 10 rankers would make it through. So you people are competing with each other, although it's a very healthy, very sophisticated kind of a competition, but you are kind of competing with each other. And the other example of the competition could be the competition that you face at the workplace. Yes. Now it is also a very healthy, very soft and sophisticated kind of a competition. Now when you are a part of the organization, of course you hang out with your colleagues. Let's suppose if you're a salesperson, you would be friends with those other salespersons who might be under that umbrella, working under that same umbrella, under that same vertical of that company. But down within, you people are competing with each other to get that title, to get that badge of the most successful, most reliable, most trustable salesman for the company. You are fighting for the title of the most successful employee who has generated the maximum amount of leads, who has generated the maximum amount of business for the company. So competition could be in that form. Or what else could come in the form of the competition? It could be the competition literally in your personal life. I mean, I'll take up the personal life things after this, but it could also be the competition between the heads of the two organizations. Let's suppose there are two organizations who are operating in those similar business verticals. They are venturing and offering their products and services in those similar verticals. So it could be a competition between the let's suppose if you are the owner of a tech firm, say if you are the owner of HCL, then you are competing in a healthy way with the owner of another IT firm, let's say Infosys. So you are daggers with each other, yet you are not fighting with swords, right? You are fighting with your brain. So this is the kind of competition. Or it could be the competition between the owner of Infosys and the owner of the owner of Accenture, which is another IT consultancy firm. So things like that, competition of that sort is seen in the professional life. But what about the competition in the personal life? Now you might be wondering that how come competition is existent in the personal life? But you are wrong. It does exist. Now if you clearly you just brood and contemplate, then there are literally, in love affairs, there are literally 10 guys who want to woo the same girl, who want that same girl, and they are literally 10 guys running like dogs after a single girl. So where in our life are we escaping the competition? And even if you talk of when you are into that house, although you love your siblings, you want your siblings to prosper and to enjoy their life like you do. You want those siblings to be successful as you are. But tomorrow, if there comes a situation that he becomes 10 times more successful than you are, then it will be very difficult for you to digest that fact. Now I am saying it very in a very clear cut, in a very sharp manner in front of you, and some of you might not agree with me, but this is the harsh reality that most of the people run from. But it does exist. Every individual. So if you have 3 siblings, so 3 of you siblings are fighting to be that eye candy, be that most pampered boy or the girl in that family. So competition is something which is an inescapable reality. And guys, now that we are done with competition, let's take up the second point. And as you can see it out here, it says diseases. Well, anybody of us who is operating in the real life must have suffered from a disease of some sort of the other at some point or the other in their life. At least in my personal life, I haven't come across a single individual who has told me that he hasn't suffered from a single disease throughout his lifetime. Now, whether you suffer from as life-threatening a disease like cancer or something like schizophrenia, or you suffer from a occasional mild cold and cough or an occasional fever, that is altogether a different matter. But anybody of us who is stepping out of their house and operating in the real world, they will fall sick at some point or the other in their life. So diseases is something that is not to be feared of. Okay, now that we are covered with diseases, let's take up the other point. Let's take up enemies first. Enemies. Well, guys, like I talked about in the point where while we're dealing with competition, similarly, enemies is an inescapable reality. Enemies are something for anybody who is operating in the real world. He will have enemies for sure. And if you are that one person who is watching my channel and you are thinking or you claim that although you are operating in that real world, but you don't have a single enemy, then that situation is kind of possible in only two situations. Well, the first situation is that if you are a saint who is performing the holy rituals in India on the bank of the river Ganges, or you are a monk who is living in a monastery in USA or Russia, and he is seeking spirituality, mysticism, what do I say, what else, he is seeking liberation and the moksha, that is the ultimate bliss, the ultimate enlightenment. That in that case, okay, I'm ready to admit that since you are drifting from operating in the real world, you are operating into the total spiritual and the mysterious realm. You might not have enemies, but instead, if you still claim that you aren't that monk or you aren't that saint in India, and you still don't have enemies, then there's only one possible thing, and that I can tell to you people is that if you claim so, then you will be unsuccessful for sure in your life. And whether you are ready to admit it or not, I can give you in writing that you might be an unsuccessful person for sure if you still claim that you don't have enemies while operating in the real world. Now, it could be the fact that if you there are some individuals who can actually figure out that these and these people are or could be my possible enemies, but there are some people who just close their eyes to the presence of enemies, or they aren't able to actually pinpoint as to who their enemies are. So you could be a Gandhian personality who whenever the atrocities, whenever you are subjected to the inhuman atrocities, or whether when those physical blows are just subjected onto your body, but still you call that enemy as a friend of yours. That is altogether a different matter, or your enemies could be hidden. That's the possible reason that you are not able to trace them. All those issues are a totally different ball game. But if you are operating in that real world, you will have enemies for sure. Now, taking up court cases and litigations. Well, guys, although it sounds a very horrifying term that court cases and litigations are seen from the sixth house, and that's the reason that sixth house gonna be you should consider it as an evil house or a Dishtana house, and it is a bad house for any planet to be placed in. But no, this is absolutely wrong, because court cases and litigations could be as small a case wherein you were driving a car under the influence of alcohol, or you violated the other traffic police guidelines wherein you were not wearing a helmet, you were driving rash, or you crossed the permissible speed limit, and that's why you had to spend a night in the prison, or you had to pay the fine. So that could be a possible form of court case or litigation. It could be as small as that, or instead it could be as trivial a case wherein you, out of your own negligence, or because of the fact that you were running out of your funds, you could not pay your phone bill or the electricity bill on time, and that's why you were being called to the court, and that telephone connection or that electricity connection was cut down for a couple of days to your home. So it could be even that small a case. Or what all can actually come into the court cases and litigations? Well, it could be the fact that if you are operating in that MNC, and there was this one guy who you just blindly trusted, who you banged upon, who you just confided in, like no other employee in the organization, but you forgot. But since you were a person with the fair thoughts, with a fair character, that's why you were not able to figure out the fact that although you are operating in operating in that MNC, but at the end of the day, that employee that you are working with, that you are confiding in, or that you blindly trust, you both are fighting for that badge of that most successful soldier, or at least a most trustable or and the most bankable soldier, at least in the eyes of the head of that organization. So now this person who you confided in most of your secrets and who you banged upon, he might realize that you are a very intelligent person and you have generated the maximum amount of leads for the company, and so you gonna take away the title easily away from this guy. So what this guy might do, that he might try to tarnish your image, he might try to cast false aspersions on your clean character by holding you responsible, by holding you responsible for something that you were not even a part, that you were not even aware of, or that you were not even a part of. But this is a very positive thing to have happened to this individual, because it's a lesson for life. So the next time this individual would step out of his home, he would be like, that world is not that hunky dory and nice and dandy as I earlier perceived it to be. In fact, it is a world that is full of shrewd, and it is a big bad dirty world out there. So what he might do is that the next time he enters the gate of that MNC, he would make sure that he is very practical in his approach, and he would not make himself emotionally susceptible or emotionally vulnerable to the other people. And even if he would confide in some of the individual, he would do a thorough analysis of that personality of that individual, so that he is very sure of the fact that this guy would not cheat him. So and the other thing that that is good about such a happening is that this guy might realize that if I at the time of making the rational decisions, if I put my heart, if I put my emotions before I use my brain, then what's going to happen is that the people will ultimately snatch even the last loaf of bread that is there in my hands, because people out there are malicious, they are competing with you. So the next time he takes a business decisions, he will be all rational, he will have his toes firmly grounded, and he would be prepared for any of those battles and any of those competitions or any of those allegations that might he be subjected to. And this is although a bad experience, but as it is said that success comes from experiences, and experiences comes from bad experiences. So ultimately, that although he got ditched by that guy, but it kind of laid the foundation of success for this individual in the future times to come. Now, taking up the last point, which says relationship problems or marriage problems. This is a very interesting point, and I'll give you a lot of examples in order to give you a new perspective of looking at it. So every one of us who is operating in the real world gets into the relationship problems every now and then, whether it will be the relationship of friendship, whether it will be the relationship with our with a girlfriend, boyfriend, with a fiance, with a wife, or with any of our business partners. Because we all are, at the end of the day, we all are different individuals. We have got a different mind, we have got a different thinking pattern. So likely are the chances that there will be issues, there will be clashes at some point or the other. So it's that normal a thing. And even if we talk of this house, sixth house is also called the house of divorce. Now that doesn't essentially mean that you're gonna get divorced in your life or something like that. It just means that a union is broken up, whether it's a union of friendship or a union of partnership. So even if we talk of the thing as severe as divorce, first of all, there's nothing to be feared of the fact that you're gonna be get divorced, because it has become that normal a thing in the modern times. It just simply means that the two individuals who went into an alliance, they just sought, they just couldn't put up with each other, and that's why they got divorced. It's just a breakage of an alliance. It's not something that you have committed a murder or something, that the people gonna label you as an outcast or pariah in society. And wonder, while some of you might be thinking divorce to be a very very horrifying thing, you might label it as something that might cast you, or that might label you as an outcast or a pariah in society. But wonder, it could be a blessing in disguise for the individuals who are suffering one of the most inhuman atrocities at the hands of the partner. It could be a blessing for the girl, especially for the girls. It could be a blessing who are suffering one of the most inhuman atrocities, ranging from the verbal abuse to the physical abuse, not only at the hands of their partner, but at the hands of those in-laws who didn't like that girl because she didn't bring a baggage, didn't bring in a huge dowry. So you are that one individual. So when you are that one individual who are making the society aware of the fact that what is happening with me is not a normal happening. This is something that is unjustificable. This is something that is illegitimate. This is something that is unconstitutional. This is something that is unethical that is happening with me. So you are raising your hands and telling the society that since I am seeking divorce, doesn't mean that you will just look at me with a different eyes. In fact, I demand a similar respect from you people as any person who is single or any person who is in a blissful marriage is looked at. It's just that we both were good individuals, but we could not get together. That synchronization in us could not be established, and it's very normal, like it happens in friendship. Is it practically possible for you to be friends with the whole world? No, it's not. Even if you are a person as big as Barack Obama, then you have, then or Manmohan Singh in India, then you get that post of a prime minister when you have at least 51% of the people who stand by you. And if I take that example, then you have still 49% of the people hating you. So is it practically, you think over that, is it practically possible to make the whole world happy? No, it isn't. So this guy is, this guy or girl who is seeking divorce, he is making the society aware of the fact that you got to rise up out of all the dogmatic things that are associated with this thing called divorce. It is that normal a thing, and you are also becoming a paragon. You are also becoming a figure of inspiration for those people, and you are better, and you are far better than those individuals who are stuck into a relationship, and yet they cannot move out of that relationship because of their own insecurities. They feel that they might be treated as an outcast in society. If they seek a divorce, what will happen to their children? Will they be able to resume their studies again, get that college degree which they compromised for marriage? Will they be able to get the job and take care of the children alone, without that male partner? So isn't that great a thing? Aren't you laying a very solid example for the society? So guys, with a sigh of relief, I am just feeling drenched. So guys, haven't I given you a new perspective about the sixth house? That all those things, all these competition, diseases, court cases, litigations, enemies, these are just the normal things that can happen with anybody. And just based on these things, we will not call this house an evil house or the bad house or the Dushtana house. It just means that it is the house of the real world. And in court cases and litigations, I could things just keep coming into my mind. that in court cases and litigations I missed on a single example. It could be even the example wherein you were condemned and reprimanded, you were insulted in that front of that 100 staff people of your organization because you botched up the assignment that was given to you, and that demanded out of you sheer persistence, perseverance. But although you were holding that post of a senior manager, but you didn't perform to the expectations of the person who had assigned you and assigned you that particular assignment. So although you might be taken to court for that, or you might get fired from that organization, but the next organization or you join, or when you come, when you finally pay for what all wrong things you had done in the court, then you will emerge as a better person. So the next time you will think that I'll give my all, I'll possibly give my all, I'll fight, I'll just put everything that is there that is within the realm of my personal comprehension in order to make that marketing plan a success, in order to make that financial plan a success. And you will be like that, now I have just become lethal, because nothing bad can happen from here onwards. I have already been insulted in front of the whole staff, and nothing bad can happen. I have been taken to court, I have been insulted all the way. So it's just a ladder of success that I am in front of now. So guys, we here completed with the part 1 of the 6th house astrology video. And for some of those who have liked me, of course, literally, it's not possible for me to entertain or to be liked by all the people, as I told you in the 6th house. So I say that if some of you who like my videos, and if you feel that you would love to see me again, do subscribe to my channel, and I would be soon uploading the 6th house astrology video part 2. So till then, goodbye, bonjour, shabak khair, sat sri akal, namaste, coming from India. Take care guys, love you.